אזרחי ישראל, הערב הקמנו ממשלת חירום לאומית. עם ישראל מאוחד, והיום גם ההנהגה שלו מאוחדת.
העמידה שלנו כאן, שכם אל שכם, היא מסר ברור לאויבינו, וחשוב מכך, מסר לכל אזרחי ישראל. כולנו יחד, כולנו מתגייסים, כולנו מגויסים.
Israel is facing massive security challenge in the wake of recent attack by Hamas militants on the southern Israeli settlements, which killed hundreds of Israeli civilians, and probably more than 150 Israeli soldiers were also killed during the attack that lasted few hours, but the body counts are still on because Israeli forces are trying to take control of all the territories that were invaded or encroached by those militants. Meanwhile, the domestic politics in Israel is also taking new turns, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu coming under severe pressure and criticism for failing to protect Israeli citizens, and somehow the entire lapse of intelligence or security forces is also looming large on his government. Meanwhile, after a lot of pressure from the public and also from his political opponents, Prime Minister of Israel has agreed to form a joint unity government that will decide the way ahead of the strategic counter-offensive that Israel is planning against Hamas militants. With the deal that has been reached on unity government, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will form an emergency government, and two opposition lawmakers, both former army chiefs, will be part of his cabinet. Netanyahu, Defense Minister Gallant, and opposition lawmaker Benny Gantz will comprise war cabinet, with strategic affairs minister Ron Dermer and ex-IDF chief Gadi Eisenkot as observers. Both Gantz and fellow National Unity Party member Gadi Eisenkot are former Israel Defense Forces chief. So Gantz is also a former defense minister, and analysts say that the infusion of military experts and strategic experts will bring in more perspective and professionalism in the counter-offensive that Israel is planning against Hamas militants in Gaza. The decision has been very dramatic because earlier Benjamin Netanyahu was not very keen on forming a cabinet that would include his political opponent. Also, something of this sort had happened during the pandemic, which did not go down well for the political prospect of Benjamin Netanyahu, and he was kind of very apprehensive. But with the mounting public pressure, he had to succumb, and this new government will be taking major policy decision in the war against militancy, in the war against terrorism of Hamas. At the same time, this new cabinet will not take any decision other than the related to war and counter-offensive. So this has been the internal political scenario in Israel right now. Meanwhile, we have seen UK Foreign Minister James Cleverly also visiting Israel. Somehow, when during his visit, there was this siren that went off that meant that Tel Aviv and Spat were under threat of incoming rockets from Gaza. The Foreign Minister of UK had to rush to some nearby shelter. Also, that is some kind of solidarity that he was here to express with the Israeli government, which is planning a counter-offensive, which is needing a lot of support internationally, both in terms of diplomatically and financial aid, military aid, intelligence inputs, and other support that it is also getting from countries like mostly from European Union, USA, and its NATO allies. US has already sent a major warship along near Mediterranean Sea that will protect and defend Israeli counter-offensive, and that will also aid and support its military offensive against terrorists of Hamas. The offensive can go on for a very long time because certain newspapers or the local media in Israel are reporting that Israeli side had some conversation with the Egyptian side that indicated that the counteroffensive in Gaza Strip will go on maybe for weeks. We know that several dozens of hostages are still taken by Hamas and kept in Gaza. Many of them have been foreign nationals, and that is one of the reasons why Israeli forces have not gone all out against Hamas militants in Gaza Strip. There is a series, there is a siege, there is a blockade that has been announced by the Israeli government to ensure that food, fuel, or any essential supply to Gaza Strip has been blocked, and practically people are being in a way forced to evict from the region, so that during the hours of counteroffensive there are less civilian casualties. Meanwhile, Hamas has asked people not to leave. They have given a cry that if you live in your home and you die in home. So that is the kind of spirit that Hamas is trying to whip around, with several dozens of foreign nationals also being part of their entire hostage that they had taken during the weekend onslaught. Meanwhile, we have also seen other side of Israel also facing some sort of security challenges, with northern Israel facing some incursion from the Lebanese side, and there is a buzz that Israeli forces are also preparing for some counteroffensive in the southern part of Lebanon. That would mean that hideouts or the strongholds of Hezbollah may come under attack from Israeli forces in the days to come. Many counteroffensives are being planned around this time in northern Israel and in southern Israel. The government of Israel does very well know that the support for counteroffensive is very strong among the people. In fact, there is an impatience among people that why the government is going slow, why the political decisions are taking so much time, and why they are not going all out against these terrorist outfits once and for all. We'll have to see how the days unfold, how the politics of Israel takes place, and how the external factors around Israel and international communities also gets dragged into the issue. Initially it will be mostly diplomatically, but there are chances that if the situation goes beyond Israeli borders, or maybe other neighboring countries of Israel could get involved in this war, the international stakes will be high. US Foreign Minister Blinken will be in Israel most likely on Thursday, and that will be in a show of solidarity to the people of Israel. USA has supported Israel all with its military aid and other financial aid and all kind of international support as well, and with the visit of Blinken it will be another statement by USA that it is standing by the cause of Israel, it is standing by the people of Israel in the hour of crisis. And any country which tries to mess up with Israel right now, or if any country tries to back up or support any military or militant outfit which is against Israel, then clearly that will be also on the target of USA. That could come with monetary economic sanction, trade sanction, or some military interventions from USA side as well. We'll have to see how the days in the coming days the situation in and around Israel unfolds, because the situation had been green and the counteroffensive is going to be as aggressive and intense, maybe for a few days.
אנחנו נלחמים בכל העוצמה, בכל החזיתות. עברנו להתקפה. כל איש חמאס הוא בן מוות. חמאס זה דאעש, ונרסק ונחסל אותו, כפי שהעולם ריסק וחיסל את דאעש. The savage attacks that Hamas perpetrated against innocent Israelis are mind-boggling, slaughtering families in their homes.
We are fighting with all our strength, on all fronts. We went on the offensive. Every Hamas member is a dead man. Hamas is ISIS, and it will be crushed and eliminated just as the world crushed and eliminated ISIS.
They are savages. Hamas is ISIS. And just as the forces of civilizations united to defeat ISIS, the forces of civilization must support Israel in defeating Hamas.